There's something about when you go underwater for the first time and you see this incredible forest, seeing kelp, seeing the ecosystem that can create, and knowing that cultivating kelp has a similar opportunity to create that ecosystem and take advantage of that biomass and use it for something that has this incredible wide-scale implication in all variety of industries in our daily lives is an opportunity that you can't turn down.
What we know is that seaweed is a really useful form of alginate, so it can be used as like a vegan gelatin. It's used in toothpaste and shampoos, but I say it's on the cusp because it could be used for bioplastics. It could replace a lot of single-use oil-based plastics, and it could potentially be a biofuel, and it could be used more widely as an animal feed or a fertilizer. So there's a lot of potential for different products that it could become.
In the most basic sense, I would define seaweed aquaculture as growing a naturally abundant and beneficial crop out of almost nothing.
Typically, we attach them to lines and float them out in the ocean and wait a while until they grow. Seaweeds are some of the most productive and fast-growing plants in the world, and so it's a very effective grow-out system.
If you think about climate change, which is such an incredibly complex problem, we need something that is versatile. We need a solution that is versatile. And seaweed is not the silver bullet, but it can be part of that solution because of its opportunity to provide ecosystem services, draw down carbon, but also have these on-land impacts as well.
Seaweed has been grown across the world for thousands of years, and it's been grown really intensively throughout the Asian continent. But not a lot of seaweed farming has been done in North America or in Europe, where there's a lot of potential to do it.
The Ocean Rainforest Demonstration Project is going to be installed probably in September or October of this year, so 2022, and our permit with the Army Corps of Engineers runs through December 2024. The demonstration project is a really unique and interesting opportunity for Ocean Rainforest as a company, but also as an industry, to really test the waters and see whether or not seaweed cultivation in Santa Barbara or in California in general is actually economically and socially feasible.
One of the boys in the harbor needed a deckhand, and I was laid off at the time, and I hopped on board and I never got back off.
I bought a sailboat and lived on the sailboat in the marina while I was going to City College. And I started going fishing on the commercial boats and skipping class. And pretty soon I skipped enough classes that I couldn't go to school anymore. And I just started a career in fishing. And I fished for 8 years as a deckhand, all the way from Nicaragua to Kodiak, Alaska. And saved up enough money to buy my first boat, and I've been successfully fishing ever since.
From a fisherman's perspective, they're concerned about losing their fishing grounds when these kelp farming installations go in, and so the extent to which a new farm will be, a win-win for the fishing community and the aquaculture community is the extent to which the siting of the farm encroaches on fishing grounds and fish catch.
It's a hard sell, right? You're going to be losing ground. And they've already had a lot of that in California. Fisheries have been declining for the past few decades. Huge marine protected areas have gone in, more are going in, and this means that their livelihood is being encroached upon. And they're a small community already. So it's hard. I don't know what the answers are to make sure that everyone's livelihood is respected and that fisheries do well in the process.
The active fishermen I've talked to, every single one of them oppose it because they see this, that's our fishing ground, that's our front yard, we don't want stuff out there. Why are you putting things in the ocean? Go farm on land. I hear all these things. It's going to be a navigational hazard. It's right on the path to the west end of Cruz. So that's the kind of stuff you hear from the fishermen.
For me, if I wait for the weather to be good to go fishing at the islands, I won't be able to make a mortgage payment. I won't be able to feed my kids. I've got to go fishing when it's rough. But it's dangerous. Just dealing with the weather is dangerous. And then dealing with navigational hazards on top of that is even more so dangerous. And the idea that they are going to have hundreds of buoys, all with lines and cables off of it, in an experimental zone is alarming. To have it on an industrial size is just plain asinine.
This is kind of an experiment, and you know, it's going to be a learning for everybody, whether we really do like it or we don't like it. But I think our main concern as fishermen is what's going to happen if it goes good. You know, they say this is a test program, but what if the test passes?
If it seems like it could make sense and there is an interest in scaling the industry and really establishing a seaweed cultivation industry in Southern California, the way that process would work is a little bit different than what we had to do for the demonstration project. Because rather than presenting the regulatory agencies with a location, we present the agencies with an idea and a system that we would like to install and a general area in the ocean that we would like to have it go. And then it's up to the commercial fishing community, it's up to the recreational fishing community to provide their insight so that we can come together to find a location that has a minimal impact on these existing industries. So it would be, in the long term, a very collaborative process, very much a discussion to understand how we could develop the system, whether or not it would be one larger permitted area, if it's a larger permitted area that has channels running through it that would be available for navigation, if it's a selection of smaller permits, really what the whole system would look like from a commercial perspective. And so that conversation is what would happen if the demonstration project is successful, and it seems like moving forward with building an industry is viable.
I think transparency is good. That's, honesty is the best policy. And for them to hold, you know, maybe monthly meetings or something. I try to beat the bushes to get people to get involved with this because this is right where I fish. Oh, it doesn't affect me. So I think as long as there's an opportunity for who wants to show and maybe hear how it's going, here's what's working, here's what's not working, and here are our plans for the future.
You know, when thinking about ocean use for something like seaweed aquaculture, the ocean is a common resource, and so thinking about ocean ownership always has some associated challenges. You know, the people who are already dependent on ocean resources for their livelihood, you know, understandably have some concerns about parts of the ocean suddenly being essentially privatized. And I think that's really understandable, but I think also it's a reason to really take the time to have good, open dialogue with fishermen, lobstermen, people already kind of dependent on those ocean resources. I think with really good spatial planning, a lot of the concerns can really be mitigated.
The conflict between fishers and farmers is something that we have to take very seriously when we plan for the future, because we need to make sure that those two sectors can coexist in a way that is beneficial to both.
There's definitely a chance that if they can site it effectively, fish catch will go up, and the fishing activities can sort of incorporate the boundaries of the kelp farm into their fishing patterns. So hopefully that's possible.
The number one benefit of seaweed aquaculture to fishing communities could be the spillover effects from seaweed farms acting as habitat for fish to hide in and to grow in and to reproduce in.
We're territorial and we're on edge, and I was just in the parking lot with a couple of the boys and they're like, stand up for us. I'm like, okay, I will. And we just don't want to be bulldozed. We want to be, feel like we matter. That's it. If we wanted to make big bucks, maybe I would have done something different, but we need this to live. So that's where the, you know, reluctance comes from.
We absolutely understand that individuals who are part of the commercial fishing community, and even those who are part of the recreational community, use the ocean as their source of livelihood. I mean, this is their job, this is their life, and here we are coming in as a company that's proposing to do something different. But we also recognize and we believe very strongly that there is a way for us to coexist and share the ocean space in a way that is mutually beneficial to everyone.